South Carolina MAGA Representative Nancy Mace might have just tanked her entire run for governor before it even started with one single post. Allow me to explain. She is getting absolutely ridiculed online right now for this post that she made, just days after announcing that she was launching a bid for the governorship of South Carolina. And we'll get to the absolute debacle going down online in just a second, but let's just say this isn't her first roasting rodeo or her first controversial posting for clout, because there have been many. So drop a like and subscribe if you're new here, and stick around or skip ahead till the end via those chapters down below to see a compilation of the myriad roasting scandals that Nancy Mace has had in the past. But starting off with some quick context here, Nancy Mace the other day announced that she was jumping into the South Carolina governor's race, where she faces a competitive GOP primary to succeed now Governor Henry McMaster. And we probably should have suspected the cringe that would be coming, given that this was her announcement trailer.
The House Republican has drawn the ire of both Democrats and members of her own party.
She has a way of getting under their skin.
Representative Nancy Mace. Firebrand Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace.
She's a fighter. I know about that. She's a fighter.
She learned resilience early on. Mace became the first woman to graduate from South Carolina's famed military college.
You've taken a lot of abuse for standing up for the rights of women.
But what they forget is that, Laura, I'm the first woman to graduate from the Citadel. I will not be bullied into silence.
Nancy Mace scores a huge victory in her fight to keep biological men out of women's bathrooms.
We will be courageous. We will be resilient.
When she sets her sight on something, she's tough.
And we will be prepared to take on the challenges of this historic moment.
Yeah, lots to unpack there, and every element of that video will be touched on by the end of this one. But let's start with the very first claim that ties directly into her current roasting.
The House Republican has drawn the ire of both Democrats and members of her own party.
She has a way of getting under their skin.
Because Nancy Mace is currently getting absolutely ridiculed for posting this yesterday, a picture of her with a firearm and wearing jeans saying, "Nancy Mace for governor has great jeans." Now, setting aside the fact that that statement barely makes literary sense, are you saying the logo has great jeans, or you have great jeans? This is a clear homage to the controversial American Eagle Sydney Sweeney ad that we touched on in a recent video.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
And the ridicule here ranges from the subtle to the downright diabolical. First, on the post itself, you have someone asking, "Are high heels proper footwear to wear to the shooting range?" With Nancy Mace even replying, saying, "Of course they are." Someone else saying, "Flat." More on that in a second. As well as, "I'm gonna tell my kids this is Nancy Mace." But one of the best responses that I saw online came from this user.
Now, I have a pretty strict no drinking and posting policy on account of it stressing out my lawyers and a series of embarrassing messages I sent Lil Dicky one time. But that was before Nancy Mace posted this photo. Now, normally I would say this post is asinine, but since she doesn't have an ass, I guess it's just a 9. Nancy, if you're here, who's specializing in propane and propane accessories? No, I'm just kidding. I don't want to be disrespectful. To Hank Hill. Y'all, this is what you get when you have the most inexperienced comms director on the Hill, and your comms director before that was the comms director for George Santos. Like, oh my God, the replies in this, I have never seen Republicans and Democrats more united on an issue in years. Because one thing everyone can agree on is they are so sick of this woman. I mean, some of these I cannot repeat because I will get kicked off this app, but this was one of my personal favorites. If she really thought she ate was a photo. Incredibly strong start to your gubernatorial race, Nance. For the Republicans watching, I know that's a big word for Elmo. Gubernatorial just means relating to the office of the governor. Honestly, if her entire race is going to be like this, I personally cannot wait.
Savage. I have nothing to say. It's Susan Lambert on Instagram. Oh, another great account here, Pretty Informed Girl, says, "I have the worst secondhand embarrassment." Like, how did she think this was a good picture? And she's right, these replies are diabolical. Like, even Brett Cooper, the right-wing commentator, said, "I'd love to never see this butt ever again." So, Devil's Advocate saying, "Not really seeing one either." Another Hank Hill reference, another dog reference. Oh my God, what butt? It's gonna be a long ass night. Why are you spreading Nazi propaganda? And look, I'm as much for engaging in personalities as Marjorie Taylor Greene and her bad build, bleach blonde, butch body, but I think the key point here is just how much of a joke she is and how she's getting ridiculed by both Democrats and Republicans. And I agree, I've never seen people more joined on an issue than this. Case in point, in case you've forgotten the myriad times this woman has humiliated herself, here are two stories in chronological order about a time that Nancy Mace was hospitalized by a handshake, and just a couple months ago, where she brought her nudes to the floor of Congress.
They will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will do anything to control the narrative. And in fact, someone who is affiliated with the guy that assaulted me called into my office, actually two of my offices, my DC office and an office in South Carolina, yesterday morning, hours after I was physically accosted, making the threat that all these pro-tranny people online were going to organize against me. And that's what they did yesterday.
Because sitting Congresswoman and transphobe for the culture of it, Nancy Mace, is now threatening the media for reporting on a handshake she got from a trans activist that she claims was an assault. And I know that may sound confusing, so let's break it down real quick and show why she's a lying piece of human garbage, and then bask in the blissful Yuletide roasting of her ass by the internet writ large. Spoiler alert, no congresspeople were physically accosted in the making of this video, but if you don't like and subscribe, I can't make any promises. So Representative Nancy Mace on Tuesday said the Capitol Police arrested a man who had, quote, physically accosted her on Capitol grounds.
Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Capitol Police say 33-year-old James McIntyre is facing a charge of assaulting a government official. Earlier tonight, Mace posted on X that she was physically assaulted on Capitol grounds.
But whatever the truth, the South Carolina Republicans sure would be a lot happier if the media stopped reporting on it. Because there were a couple of immediately suspicious signs that Nancy Mace might have been hiding a penis. I mean, the truth about the whole incident.
So I was just looking through Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace's tweets because she was just caught pulling this massive hoax. But I noticed this while she was tweeting and just lying over and over. She wrote this tweet first. Yes, I was physically accosted tonight. More to come. Hashtag hold the line. Then somebody asked her, oh no, what happened? And then she responded from her account, Nancy Mace, you see the verified logo, a pro-trans guy out of Illinois assaulted her. Did somebody forget to switch out of their burner account?
And in addition to that, despite Capitol Police arresting a man who quote-unquote physically assaulted her, people at a foster youth advocacy event who saw the interaction quickly disputed Mace's assault characterization, saying the man had simply greeted Mace with a handshake before asking her to rethink her positions on trans youth. And worth noting here, in recent weeks, Mace herself has employed incredibly anti-trans rhetoric to take aim at her soon-to-be colleague, Sarah McBride, who made history recently as the first openly trans person elected to Congress.
Earlier this year, Mace introduced a controversial bill that would ban transgender women from using women's restrooms.
The Capitol Police later identified the man Mace accused of the assault as James McIntyre, 33, a co-founder of the Illinois chapter of Foster Care Alumni of America, and his work advocating for foster youth has been lauded, and he was named the Public Citizen of the Year in 2019 by the National Association of Social Workers chapter in Illinois. And in her report, Mace accused McIntyre of taking, quote, her hand with both of his hands and shook her arm up and down in an exaggerated, aggressive handshaking motion. Absolutely terrifying stuff, folks, and hopefully Nancy Mace never has to interact with Donald Trump.
Not since this hot mess of a three-way has a handshake gotten so much attention, clocked at almost 19 seconds. This became the handshake that left the Japanese Prime Minister shaken.
But apparently others in the room contradicted Nancy Mace, describing the encounter as a normal discussion. Elliot Hinkle, a foster youth advocate and consultant on foster issues who was at the event, told the Washington Post that McIntyre had gone up to Mace as she was leaving the event, and that when McIntyre had stuck his hand out for a greeting, Mace reached hers out. Hinkle said McIntyre told her, "Trans youth are also foster youth and they need your support." Adding, quote, "From what I saw, it was a normal handshake, an interaction that I would expect any legislator to expect from anyone as a constituent." McIntyre's arrest sends a chilling effect of you're not actually safe to go to the Capitol Hill and share an opinion that is true of you that isn't violent, because right now, if you do, a congressperson might say that they were physically assaulted and call the police on you, Hinkle said. Here you have someone pointing out that 3 witnesses went on record that said what they saw was nothing more than a normal handshake in response to Nancy Mace saying she'd received horrific death threats and faced relentless verbal attacks. Gabe Sanchez from Midas Touch also pointing out the burner account incident. Someone saying 3 things are true with this pic. Nancy Mace is a notorious liar for attention. Violence is never an answer. How did she put those pants on with a sprained wrist? And some of my personal favorites. Nancy Mace after a car with a Pride bumper sticker honked at her. And then Nancy Mace arrives in Congress after her, quote, assault. And then here's one worth noting. Nancy Mace voted against the Social Security Fairness Act, which would have restored Social Security benefits for over 2.5 million retirees that have unfairly lost their benefits they paid into due to outdated laws. Retweet to let her constituents know she voted against Social Security.
Nancy Mace, earlier today, decided to go to Congress, and she's not passing legislation. She's not fighting for a more just and equal world. No. What did Nancy Mace decide to do today at work? In one of the most important jobs in the world? She shared nude pictures of herself. Nude pictures of herself. As one person said, "I'm sorry, I hate this cuckoo ass bitch." That's funny. But as a woman's rights activist, I really want her to get the mental help she needs. It's obvious she has PTSD from being victimized by men in her life, hence her obsession with not wanting men in the bathroom I'm using. She needs help. She does need help. Now, Nancy Mace was in Congress today, held a hearing to settle scores with her ex-fiance and accused him of sex crimes while sharing nudes of herself.
Exhibit 1, behind me is a screenshot from one of the videos I found of myself. The yellow circle, this naked silhouette, is my naked body. I didn't know that I had been filmed. I didn't give my consent. I didn't give my permission. And this particular video that Patrick Bryant recorded of me on his secret camera, he saved for over 3 years without my knowledge. I didn't pick this fight. I don't even want to be here today and discuss this. But because he's still...
Does anyone really believe that Nancy Mace doesn't want to be in front of a camera right now talking about how she's a victim? Does anyone believe that? I don't think there's anywhere else Nancy Mace would rather be than sitting in front of a camera with a picture of herself behind her. I think this is exactly where Nancy Mace wants to be. In fact, I don't think there's anywhere else she'd rather be than being on camera trying to get attention, which, by the way, here you are. Here's your attention. Here it is, Nancy Mace. Here it is. I hope it fills you up. All right. And then she also showed nudes of other women.
And he had several upskirt photos from this family vacation at Callaway Gardens almost a decade ago, June of 2015. Here's another one when she's
So like, even if she's making a point because the hearing is loosely about revenge porn. This is going on for so long. It's just about her ex. Like, this is like, what does it matter that your ex did all these terrible things? It just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, I guess it does make sense to me because it's Nancy Mace and she's just desperate for attention. Desperate for attention. As that person said, she's a cuckoo ass bitch. Nancy, the genital inspector, Mace, is going to try and pretend she cares about people's privacy. Now, that is a good take. Oh, okay, one more. Someone said, just put the fries in the bag, bro. Like, in other words, like, she's going off on an unhinged rant while she should really be doing her job. And I'll end with this. The craziest thing about this is that she actually stopped talking about trans people for just a second.
And look, All disrespect to both parties here, but I couldn't think of a worse thing for an already shit state like South Carolina than electing MAGA Nancy Mace as your governor. And I'm not talking to the sane people or the Democrats in the state. I know you're going to get gerrymandered out anyway, so your votes won't matter. But MAGA, Republicans, South Carolinians, please, for the love of God, who I know you proclaim to love, do not further your decline even more by electing Nancy Mace as your governor. Jump on this bandwagon, get on the internet roast hate train, and help feed into her rage bait so that she tanks her own gubernatorial race. Then again, I know you Republicans love electing morons who will run everything into the ground, so maybe this will just fall on deaf ears. Thanks for watching, folks. If you enjoyed the video, consider dropping a like and subscribing to the Really American channel if you're new here. Join our resistance to fight back against stupidity like this. For Really American, I'm Kenny Hesse. I will see you all in the next one.